Welcome, one, welcome all. We are in a live stream. Howdy, folks. I'm Brian, and Amber is a little bit running late at the moment here, so I don't know if we'll see her or not. She had a different event that she was kind of double booked for, so I'll just pretend to be Amber and read the comments and stuff like that. You had snow in Vegas about 6 years ago, but it was really light. Yeah, I mean, Vegas doesn't get snow very often. I mean, I saw it when I was a child, but it was like, I don't know, too many years ago. I was like 3 at the time, and it snowed in Vegas, and I remember being mystified by it at the time. Uh, I'll make sure to yell really loudly so that she hurries home and gets here. So we actually had snow today. So I mean, I'll throw. I will actually, I can't vote on it. Uh, so I would say never is close enough, Mary. Nevada never gets snow. But welcome. I think we'll have a really good set of stories here for you tonight. So let's get started since I think we're already there. All right. So our first letter is a very weird one. It is titled, "Am I a jerk for joining my daughter-in-law outside when they smoke, but with one of those little bubble cigarettes, my daughter-in-law claims that I'm mocking them." Yes, I've always that's the way I mock smokers. I actually buy bubble cigarette wands and I go outside and just mock them. Usually I make funny voices while I do it. So maybe that's the difference here between what OP is doing and what I do. Throwaway account, this feels really dumb, and I'm being told that I need to apologize. My daughter-in-law and her family smoke at any event they are invited to. They will at one point go outside and smoke. Some vape and some smoke cigarettes. What happens is they disappear for like 30 minutes and everyone that doesn't smoke stays inside and keeps doing their thing. Well, the problem is that I used to just hang out with my daughters when they did this, but they have recently moved away. Now, during any of the smoke breaks for her family events, I'm basically left alone for 30 minutes. Well, I tried to join them, but they kept offering me cigarettes and basically said that I need to be smoking in order to join. I asked them if I could space them so that I am not alone by myself for 30 minutes, and they told me that it was a social thing and that I can join them when I smoke something. This is literally the only problem this is only literally a problem at family events that I go alone to. I'm divorced. So I brought a cigarette that blows bubbles so that I could join them but not actually smoke and not have them offer me real cigarettes. Well, I thought that it was fun. I went to their event last weekend and I joined them on their smoking break with my bubble cigarette, and I got a few annoyed looks. And the smoke break wrapped up quicker than usual. After that, my daughter-in-law pulled me aside and was mad. She told me that it's not okay for me to be mocking them and that she needs an apology. I told her no, and that I just wanted to join them and will not be left alone for 30 minutes. My son told me that I also need to apologize and never take the bubble cigarette to their events again. I don't feel like I did something wrong. All right, folks, what do you think? And maybe I can do my best Amber impersonation. All right. I would say that OP isn't the jerk. Maybe I need to work on my Amber impression. I mean, my personal opinion on this one is that OP wasn't doing this out of malice. And also, I don't think a bubble cigarette wand is something that is basically a mocking thing. I think that OP is wanting to join them in this social event. And these people continue to kind of like try to pressure her into smoking. So my personal view, I think, is that they're just trying to like get OP to basically either not join them because they don't particularly like them, or they're just like kind of jealous that OP doesn't smoke, or feels like OP is saying that they're better than them when they don't smoke. So I think that it's one of those kinds of things where they're basically like either kind of guilty conscience about smoking and feel like OP is trying to pressure them and not to smoke, or that this is like we really don't like her and we're trying to make every excuse in the book to make sure she doesn't join us because we know that she's not going to smoke. And they're now upset because OP kind of, got around their whole rule. But what do you folks think? I'll wait for a moment here because I do know there's like a 30-second or so like reaction here. And Mary says, "Not the jerk, I would seriously, and I mean seriously, find my own social event when hubby heads over to the old homestead." I mean, I would definitely find somewhere, else to go as well. I mean, it seems like, I don't know. I feel bad for OP here. I know that they kind of just want to get along with these people, but also it just kind of also feels like they just don't want anything to do with her. And so I kind of feel like if I were in OP's position, I would kind of be like, I don't want to hang out with people who don't want to hang out with me. So that's kind of my view on this. All right. Speaking of my view on these things, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for taking my niece home after my sister-in-law left her with me at a party and disappeared? I'm a 31-year-old female and my sister has a habit of treating me like an automatic childcare at family events. She'll ask me to watch my 7-year-old niece for 20 to 30 minutes to an hour and then disappear for a few. Usually I let her go because I love my niece, but I'm getting really tired of being turned into surprise childcare. Last week was our cousin's birthday at a park. I only planned to stay for an hour because I had to work early the next morning. My sister showed up late, handed me my niece's sweater and juice box, and asked me to keep an eye on her for 30 minutes while she was taking care of something at work on her phone. Well, that was around 2:15. By 3:30, I had fed my niece, I had taken her to the bathroom twice, dealt with a scraped knee, and calmed her down after a bounce house meltdown, and my sister was nowhere to be found. I called her twice, and I texted once with no answer. Then my mom told me that my sister had left the park with 2 friends to get more alcohol. That's when I got really mad. Leaving the park is not the same thing as stepping away for a minute. Well, my niece was tired and wanted to leave. I told my mom that I was taking her with me, texted my sister and that her daughter was with me, and I took her back to my apartment. I made her mac and cheese and put on a movie, and she was fine. Well, about 20 minutes later, my sister called me furious, saying that I had no right to take her daughter anywhere without permission, and that I was scared, and that I scared her when she came back and couldn't find us. I told her that maybe next time don't dump your kid on me and leave the park without saying a word. My mom agrees that what my sister did was wrong, but says that I made it worse by taking my niece away instead of waiting there. Still, she was tired and wanted to be home badly. My sister is now telling people that I used her daughter to make a point. I don't think that I did anything unsafe. I think that I got stuck babysitting without being asked and took care of a tired kid when her mom disappeared. Am I the jerk? Well, I mean, my kind of view on this one is that I don't think that OP is in the wrong here. I mean, taking a kid without their parents' knowledge is kind of bad in general. And under normal circumstances, I might kind of feel like that. But OP, it sounds like, is constantly taking care of this kid and is primarily the caretaker when the kid is there at them. And I'm reading your comment here now, Mary. Why not not leave the niece with the grandma? And that's kind of what I was wondering about myself. Is like, why is it that the OP didn't just leave them with the grandma at that point in time? I think that it might have been a better move at that point because it just seems like OP was kind of I don't know, was kind of it seems like they know what kind of person that their sister is, and I think that they could expect that their sister was going to get upset by this. So I think leaving them with the grandmother was probably going to be the better option here, but I can also understand if OP felt like taking the niece back to their apartment was a safe place to put her and to get her out of the park if she was being fussy and wasn't basically able to calm down. Oh, maybe the alcohol was for the grandma. I mean, that's a good question. Like maybe they're all out there like drinking, and OP is basically like the only sober one, and they can't like leave the kids with any of the other adults because the other adults are all getting blasted. So if that's the case, then I don't blame OP at all. But if OP could have left them with the grandma, it might have just been the better of the options. Speaking of the better of the options, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Allowing My Young Children to Partially Destroy an Unattended Sandcastle? I don't know, maybe that works. I was walking along the beach today with my 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son when they came across a giant hole. No one was around. Along the edge of the hole were castle-shaped piles from one of those classic sand buckets. They excitedly got down into the hole and were playing around. Then an older boy came and started tumbling off the sides, tearing down some of the castle piles in the process. My kids excitedly began smashing the other piles. After a few minutes of this, a dude wandered over with his 12-year-old son and started calmly but gently chastising the kids for tearing down the castle stuff. What you're doing isn't cool. We were still building this up and not tearing it down. Why don't you help us make it bigger instead of making it smaller, etc. Just kept telling the kids how uncool their behavior was. He then turned to me and said, it would be cool if you would rebuild this, and at that point, my children were basically running away. So I gave him a blasé thumbs up, and then I wandered off with the kids. The whole encounter struck me as bizarre and unusual. As my daughter later said to me, the beach is for everyone, so am I the jerk? The thing is, like, I think that OP could have made friends, and that basically the kids and the OP could have actually done something nice. Like, it's understandable if you think that the sandcastle is abandoned, but I think what they kind of did here was a little bit far in the respect that if there was active signs that the sandcastle was being built and constructed, then it would be a nice thing to kind of help to rebuild what they kind of destroyed. But then again, it's a sandcastle on the beach, right? And sand isn't really the most permanent of building or construction materials. So I can understand why OP was like, I'm gonna go watch my kids instead of like having them come and help out with the rebuilding of the sandcastle. So I can understand where OP is coming from here. I can understand where the other guy was coming from here. But I also think that it was kind of in poor taste not to help, and that there could have been like some way of meeting and making friends. I don't know. So that's just kind of my view on this thing. Now I'm feverishly waiting for Mary's response, since Mary, you have to carry the whole conversation. So, yeah, and I mean, I think like one of the comments here kind of, there were a couple of comments here that I thought were probably pretty okay. Woodman says, I think that he made a valuable observation. I taught my kids that anybody can destroy, but smart people build and create. Your kids are young and were influenced by an older boy, but I would have reinforced the man's point later just to plant the seed. Kids can learn and decide how to behave. So, and Mary says, not the jerk, this was an opportunity for the dad to teach his kids about public property and leaving things unattended. And, and I mean, I think that's actually really a good point as well here. Like, there is public property, and there are, always going to be things where basically stuff kind of gets destroyed. Speaking of public property, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for letting my dog pee on a park bench? Well, this afternoon, I took my dog to the park. It's not a dog park, but a rather massive reserve with a lot of open space and park benches interspersed. Dogs are 1000% allowed to be off the leash there. In fact, dog training classes occur there, and I saw at least a dozen other off-leash dogs there. I normally do a few laps with my dogs, he's a Great Dane, around the park, and he loves to sniff and pee on things, as dogs do. There was this lady sitting on a park bench reading a book, and my dog was sniffing around. He lifted his leg and peed on the side of the bench. It was the opposite side of the bench to where this lady was, and the urine did not come in contact with her at all. I apologized to her, but she came completely infuriated and started telling me what I did was disgusting and that I'm a disgusting person and how she's been watching my dog pee on everything. I quickly went off and apologized profusely, but am wondering whether or not I was in the wrong, given this is a public park and she knows dogs will be there. I think there are times, of course, like a tree, for instance, isn't something that most people are going to feel weird about a dog peeing on. And I know, but a park bench is like a piece of furniture. And I think that people aren't going to want to be around dog urine, and understandably so. It's kind of unsanitary. And I mean, I imagine, she's sitting on this bench and feels kind of violated in some respect by this dog, peeing on it, right? There are a lot of other places for the dog to urinate at, and I don't know why the dog had to urinate on this, this bench that was designed for humans to sit on, right? And maybe maybe this isn't one of the things where, the I'll have to read your comment here in a second, Mary. I got a chuckle out of seeing that real quick. I mean, I think he could have had the dog pee anywhere else, personally. And Mary says, not the jerk. And then out of the blue, a pigeon pooped on her. I mean, that's a fair point, right? There are a lot of wildlife type of things in nature, and sometimes things like that happen. I do have a question about whether or not this is proper or not. I think maybe, I wonder if this is how skewed it's going to be in the comments here, right? But Lurker by Nature GT says, you're the jerk. It's a public park. It is not equal. It's totally fine to let my dog urinate on furniture meant for humans to sit on. Let alone, it's totally fine to let my dog urinate on the furniture someone else is sitting on at the time. And Waffle Friends Work 99 says, you're the jerk. People sit on those benches. Teach your dog to pee elsewhere. So, I mean, that was kind of where I was coming from when I was, kind of giving my rambly spiel there. Let's see if there's any of the not the jerks here. And it seems like there's a lot of you're the jerks. So, yeah. I mean, I was kind of expecting at least one, opposing view here, but looks like it's not the case in this particular case. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not liking that a stranger walked up behind me to push my wheelchair? I'm a 28-year-old female, and I use a wheelchair. I was pushing myself up a sidewalk with a slight incline. Before I knew it, someone walked up behind me, grabbed the handles on my wheelchair, and started pushing me. I started yelling and saying no because it was scary, and I couldn't even see the stranger because of how close behind me they were while pushing. I swung my head behind me, and they finally stopped. They started cussing at me because I was ungrateful, and they were just trying to help. Eventually, they finally left me alone, and I watched them walk off. My wheelchair is an extension of my body. This guy was a stranger, and he was violating me by taking it upon himself to, quote-unquote, help me. I also have a lot of trauma, so it was really scary. If I needed help, I would have asked. Am I the jerk for not liking that a stranger walked up behind me to push my wheelchair? The thing is that this is pretty scary, I would imagine, for OP. The thing is, they were probably just out of minding their own business, and suddenly their wheelchair starts moving. That can be really jarring and discombobulating, I'm sure, for someone in OP's position here. Oh, hi, June. Welcome. Amber is not here at the moment. Hopefully she'll be here in a few, but she's not here yet. I think that this is, scary. I don't blame OP at all. They, clearly would have asked for help if they needed help, and I don't think that this was right for this person. This person could have been kidnapping them for all they knew, and I can't blame them for being upset by this. When somebody controls where you go, how do they even know OP wanted to go in the direction that this person was going, right? So I don't know. I don't blame OP at all. And Mary says, yikes, not the jerk. Who's to say that he wasn't headed towards a windowless van? Oh my goodness, Mary. I think we were on the same wavelength there with that one. I was like, what would make you think, I would be like scared in that situation too. You never know what people's intentions are. And I always want to assume that people have the best of intentions, but like I would be pretty disturbed if I were in OP's position. Speaking of disturbed, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Dancing at a Wedding Even Though I Was a +1 to a Friend? My friend and a coworker was invited to a close friend's wedding and received a +1. Since he had just broken up with his girlfriend, he didn't want to go alone and had been seen alone in photos on social media, so he asked me if I would go with him. Well, I love weddings, and I didn't have plans for the weekend, and always wanted to see this particular venue in person anyways, as I always pictured it for myself, so I said yes. I didn't know the bride and groom, but I am aware of wedding etiquette, such as don't wear white, don't upstage the bride, be polite, etc. The wedding comes, and I show up with my coworker/date. I met a lot of his buddies, and we are all getting along fine. One of the things about me is that I love to dance, and I never turn down an opportunity. I was on several dance teams in school, so I am semi-trained. So it's not an uncoiffed or sloppy type of dance. During cocktail hour, the DJ is playing some great music, which I thought was more appropriate for the reception, and I didn't want to let the songs go to waste, so to speak, so I danced for a little bit. Nothing ridiculous, but I love the music. People were looking my way, but not in shock, but almost like delight, like she's going to be fun on the dance floor tonight. Well, finally the reception starts, and they are doing the bridal party announcements, where the DJ plays the song and the couples dance together on the dance floor. I love hyping people up and getting the party started, so as each couple was announced, I subtly hyped them up and show them some fun moves to go along with the songs. Nothing ridiculous. I'd point at them and do something like shake my shoulders and encourage them to do the same. Eventually, my date asked me to cool it, so I did by the fourth couple, and didn't do it again, as it seemed they had routines that they practiced anyways. I didn't think that it was a big deal to help out, but I stopped when I was asked. I spent most of the night on the dance floor afterwards, dancing with everyone and genuinely hyping up the crowd. I could tell that a lot of the guests may have not felt confident, so I was making sure to go to the tables sitting down, where people were sitting down, and try to get them on the dance floor because I knew that it's important at weddings for guests to have fun. At one point, the mother of the bride or groom, I couldn't tell, looked at me and rudely quipped, "Can you please stop? We don't even know you," when I was dancing next to her table trying to get the grandparents up. I fully retreated and spent the rest of the night at my table and didn't even speak to my date because he basically started to ignore me after the announcements and during the dinner service when I asked if he wanted to dance. He said no, he was eating, and he said it rudely. So am I the jerk for dancing at a wedding? I get that it wasn't I wasn't a friend or family, but I was a guest and was even brought a card to the couple that I had just met that day. My coworker hasn't texted me to see him tomorrow. I also wanted to reach out to the bride via Facebook to see if photos were posted yet and thank her for a lovely time. All right, folks, what do you think about that? Well, I mean, I was on OP's side up until the point where they were basically like trying to get people onto the dance floor, trying to coach people on how to dance and stuff like that. I mean, it would be different if people were like, "Oh, hey, can you teach me some cool dance moves?" Right? But for her to be like, "You shake your shoulders now," I would feel very awkward if I were at that wedding and she were doing this. And then there are a lot of people who don't even want to dance or may not like dancing or feel too self-conscious to dance, and they don't want to get onto the dance floor, and they don't want someone pressuring them onto the dance floor. So she may have been causing a lot of people some uncomfortable times. So dancing alone, no, OP wasn't wrong for wanting to dance, but I think her going to these great lengths where she's basically like trying to coerce these people onto the dance floor, or people who have mobility issues might even have mobility issues, and wasn't even thinking about that. So yeah, I think that maybe she should reevaluate her position. And Mary says, "This is awkward. Question: did anyone refer to her as Elaine? That meme of Elaine like dancing. It really did occur to me, Mary. So we're continuing on that same kind of wavelength here." And June says, "Well, I don't think that she's a jerk for dancing, but yeah, she's a jerk for trying to get other people to dance." And Mary says, "I think poor OP is clueless, but not the jerk." I think maybe that's a good way to phrase that. Speaking of being clueless, but maybe not the jerk, maybe that's a bad segue for this one. Am I the jerk for giving my girlfriend an ultimatum about her cat? All right. Sorry about the clinking mirror. My girlfriend is a 26-year-old female, and I'm a 27-year-old male, and we live together, and she has a cat that she adopted before we met. I never wanted a pet in my adult life. I had pets when I was a kid, but right now, between work and getting my master's, and just life in general, I really don't want to be responsible for taking care of an animal. When my girlfriend and I started getting serious, I realized that I would likely have to live with a cat. I like cats just fine, but like I said, I don't want to take care of him. My girlfriend really wanted to start living together, so I told her only if she promised to continue being the main caretaker for the cat. I told her that I would cover the cost of food, supplies, vet bills, but I wouldn't be scooping the litter box or feeding and things like that. She agreed, and we moved in together. Well, fast forward to now, my girlfriend is not holding up her end of the bargain. She'll go to lengths of time without scooping out the litter box, and she's constantly forgetting to feed the cat or just procrastinates on it. As a result, I end up scooping the litter box every couple of days and feeding him most of the time because I can't stand the smell, and of course, I just feel bad for the cat. The cat is nice and obviously can't take care of himself. He needs to eat and stuff like that. And yes, I've talked to my girlfriend about this countless times, shared my frustrations, asked what I can do to help her remember, offered to pick up other chores so she can focus on the cat. Nothing has helped. She just will not take care of the cat. So I told my girlfriend that she needs to rehome the cat and find someone that will actually take care of him, or I'm moving out. Partially because I really don't want to take care of a cat anymore, and also I can't stand to see her neglect him. It really bothers me. I realize that ultimatums aren't great, but I really don't know what else to do. Besides this, my girlfriend is amazing, and I would like a future with her, and I can tell that she does feel guilty about her shortcomings with his cat. She told several of our friends about the ultimatum, and it's turned into a whole thing. She's quite upset with me. She feels like I'm being cruel, unfair, and pushy. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think of this one? And I guess my view on this one is that they should get like an automatic cat feeder and a automatic cat scooper, and that would take care of like 80% of the problems right there. I don't blame OP for this at all. They are really trying, I think, to extend the olive branch here. They want to have the girlfriend, have a cat, but she is, of course, not proving to be a reliable caretaker for the cat. And OP isn't even approaching this in like a jerky way, where basically he's saying, I'm rehoming the cat, with or without you or anything like that. He's just basically saying, you need to be responsible for this cat, or I'm, moving out, type of thing. Or I don't remember if he asked her to move out or, whatever. But this is, I really just cannot blame OP here. I feel bad for the cat more than anything, and I really do hope that they can work out something. But if they could afford like an automatic food dispenser or a litter box dispenser, that might really be the best thing here. Especially since in the comments here, one of the things that OP reveals is that she, well, I'll just read the comment here. OP replies to this person's comment and says she has a really stressful job and she works long hours and she's tired, and she also struggles with ADHD and executive dysfunction. She always says that she feels terrible and will do better, but doesn't follow through for very long. Edit, I don't understand why I'm being downvoted. I was just answering the question. I was asked about her justifications, and this is what she told me. I'm not excusing her behavior, just relaying what she said. I don't think her actions are acceptable and thought that I made it clear in my post. So, like, if she has ADHD and executive order dysfunction, then maybe alarms, maybe, some other things to kind of help her. And I think also like an automatic feeder and stuff like that might go a long way towards basically solving this problem. So Mary says, between work and completing their masters, I don't think that OP was ready for cohabitation. I can agree on that. I mean, I think that OP was already pretty hesitant about it, and that the girlfriend has kind of proved why maybe OP was hesitant about it. And June says, not the jerk. They had an agreement. And Mary says, not the jerk for moving out, though. Yeah, it's one of those things where I just don't blame OP. And speaking of blaming OP, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for giving my daughter junk food despite being told not to by her school? My daughter is 8 years old, and she has started a program for healthy eating across the school. I love that, and I feed my daughter healthy food, but I often give her a sweet treat in her lunch. After Christmas break, the school talked to the parents and explained that they no longer allow the children to eat unhealthy food on school property. This means no bringing in cakes on birthdays and no bringing in junk food if you have packed a lunch. I thought that was a bit extreme. Even on Easter, my kid won the Easter bonnet competition. Every other year, the kids won a chocolate bunny, but this year they gave her a sticker. But yeah, a few weeks after the rule was implemented, it was my daughter's birthday. I decided to give her a slice of birthday cake in her packed lunch since she couldn't give cake to her classmates. On the day, the teacher saw her eating the cake and told her that she's not allowed to eat junk food in school. And talked to me at pickup about this. The ridiculous thing was that I pointed out that since the rule has been in place in my daughter's school, in their lunches a few times, they've had cookies and cakes for dessert, and burgers, and some other unhealthy foods. The teacher said that they make sure that those are the healthiest possible ones, and they can't even verify with the ones that I have picked out, and said that it's my decision what I feed my child. And they said that I would send you send your kid there if you send your kid there, you have to follow the school rules. So I think OP had a little bit of a typo there. After that, the teachers kept a close eye on my daughter. She got told off for having Pringles, and I got talked to again about that. I gave her raisins, which literally are fruit, and the teacher had a problem with them, saying they have a lot of sugar in them, and not to put raisins in there and pack them for her anymore. She also had a Lunchable one day and got told off for that too. After this, I decided to push it because I thought that these rules were too strict. So I went back to giving her a daily sweet treat. The teachers kept complaining and said that I don't really care. If the rest of her lunch is healthy, she'll be fine. And I said that I don't care. The rest of her lunch is healthy, so she'll be fine. They gave me a warning that they will have to punish her if she keeps bringing in unhealthy foods, as it's against the school rules, and they are repeatedly being broken. The next day, I gave her a Lunchable and a sweet treat. They called me in to the school during lunch and told me that because my daughter and I can't follow the school rules, that she's being suspended for 2 days. My husband was really mad at me. He didn't know about me constantly doing it on purpose because he goes to work early. He said that it's really not that serious, just give her healthy food, and kept saying that I was purposely being difficult and that I am immature, and now our daughter is in trouble because of it. I didn't expect them to suspend her over it. Was I wrong to not follow the rules on this one? All right, folks, what do you think of this? And my view on this is that they shouldn't be suspending the daughter because the daughter doesn't really have a say in this. It's not like the daughter is going out of her way to, pack these lunches or anything like this. This is all on OP. And I also feel like how is this interfering with the other kids' educations, right? Like if this is causing the other kids problems, then that's certainly something to consider. But I really have a hard time with them doing this because it seems like this is really just too strict. Um, I feel bad for OP in this particular situation because they were kind of in a no-win type of scenario where if I mean I guess the only winning solution here would have been just to follow the rules strictly, but I can also understand OP saying, look, they're eating healthy for the most part, it's all right to give the kids a sweet treat every once in a while, and I think that's perfectly fine, right? But I think the school was pushing back a little too hard on all of this. And Mary says, not the jerk, I would love to see the written policy on what is and what isn't allowed. Is it specific or is it up to interpretation? And that's another problem here is like, who gets to decide? Who's the final deciding factor on what's allowed to be eaten or not? And I think that OP, as a parent, should have some level of choice in what their daughter should eat. Now, I can understand them being upset in OP's, the later part of what OP was doing with sending her to school with unhealthy food every single day. Because like kids, they need good sources of food. It really helps their brain power and stuff like that. So I can understand the school being disappointed with that. But also, I think that they're just pushing back too much. And June says, how sad that they can't have cakes for their birthday. I think the rules are strict also. I don't know that I would break the rules. I mean, that's the trouble that I kind of see here is like, if I were in the mom's position, I probably wouldn't break the rules, but I would probably be annoyed by them to some degree. I mean, I guess it depends. Like sometimes I get very contrarian, and so maybe I would, go the route of OP here. But I do think grounding the daughter was really the wrong call. I think that it was inappropriate, or not grounding, but suspending her. Speaking of the wrong thing to do, or maybe not. Maybe that's exactly opposite. Speaking of entitled people, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Rejecting My Friend's Proposal to Celebrate His Birthday Only With Me? So I'm a 24-year-old female, and my friend, a 26-year-old male, and I met at at work about 5 years ago. 1 second, I actually have to get a drink of water. Usually I get a break. But today, Amber is slacking on her duties, so I can't get the break that I usually get. We've been close ever since. The issue is that I've only seen him as a friend, but he has confessed feelings for me more than once. Last time about a year and a half ago. He says that I'm his best friend, which I appreciate, but it has made things complicated. A few months ago, we were traveling together for work and stayed in the same apartment, separate rooms. Being around each other so much made me uncomfortable, again, especially because I tried not to be by his side all the time. At one point, during the tour, people assumed that we were a couple and even labeled our photo as the lovers. That made me uncomfortable for the rest of the day. But I didn't say anything because he's very sensitive and I didn't want to ruin the trip. Before his 26th birthday, I asked what he wanted to do. I expected something with his friends or family, but he said that he only wanted to go to this very fancy restaurant. Over $120 per person with just me. That felt a little romantic and like a date, which made me very uncomfortable. Well, I told him that I would love to celebrate with him, but not necessarily on the exact day, so that he could also spend time with others. I also said that I wasn't comfortable going to that specific restaurant, partly because the cost for both of us would be around $300, which I'm not used to spending on a meal on short notice. After that, he said that he didn't feel like doing anything for his birthday. I still made him homemade brownies, and I dropped them off, and he ended up celebrating with his family. Well, the day after his birthday, he invited me on a day trip out of the city. I declined, saying that I was tired, but honestly, I just didn't want to spend a whole day alone with him in a situation that might feel like a date. Since then, he's been distant. Now, we mostly talk about work with the occasional small talk. I care about him a lot, and I would like to keep this as a friendship, but I'm not sure that he can separate these feelings. It also is starting to affect our work dynamic. So, was I in the wrong for turning down his invitation? should I have handled his birthday differently? Was I a bad friend? And how can I prevent things from getting awkward again? Edit, I have removed some sentences out of the post due to its limit, but both of the times that he has told me that he's in love with me, the latest one was in 2024, I made it very clear that I don't share the same feelings and can only give him my friendship. We need to communicate a lot, though, outside, in work, but outside of it, I've set boundaries, but these situations specifically make me think that he hasn't moved on. All right, folks, what do you think of this one? My personal views on this one are that OP is in the right. I think that he has very different expectations and thinks that he can win her over. And I think that OP is going out of their way to ensure that they know, that the friend knows that OP isn't available to these romantic overtures. If OP had gone on this date with their friend, then I think it would have only made him feel like there was some kind of hope that this was going to be more than just a friendship. And as for like the strain currently in the friendship at work, I think that's really just the way it's going to have to be for a little while until he realizes that he needs to kind of grow up a little bit. Sometimes people have crushes, and that's fine. And he can have a crush on OP, but OP has already declined it. And at this point in time, if he's continuing to do these, romantic overtures for her or to her, then this is sexual harassment, especially since they are in a shared work environment. So he needs to not do this because this is sexually harassing OP. So I feel bad for OP because she is doing everything right, and he needs to basically cool his jets. And June says, not the jerk, she needs to step back from this friendship, especially if he has feelings for her. That might be what has to happen, right? Mary says, not the jerk, it would be unkind to lead this man on. Perhaps that should extend to the friendship as well. And that's kind of the biggest issue I have is like the leading him on. OP is making it very clear, and so he's just not kind of getting the clue. But that's not OP's problem. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I the Jerk? Boss Not Happy with My Email Signature. So a few weeks ago, I added a line to the bottom of my email signature that says, this email was proudly written by a human, not an AI. I'm someone who prides myself on my email composition and the fact that I personally write all of it without the assistance of AI. I thought that it would be a nice touch to let people know that I am taking time to compose this message for them. Other employees of the company that I work for have gone ridiculous, are now being ridiculous with the use of AI and use it for almost all of their emails being sent out. I find it a bit ridiculous. It's so blatantly obvious that it's AI as well. And I personally find it impersonal and cold. That being said, I want people to know that when they receive an email from me, that I personally took the time to write out each and every single word. That the same words would be coming out of my mouth if I were speaking in person. So I added the snippet to my signature. Today, my boss emails me and says, please delete the line in your email signature about being written by a human. I responded and said, can I ask why? And his response was, gotta stay professional, and it's not quite as professional as we would like to see. I can see why he uses it, often with grammatical errors and misspellings. So the question is, am I the jerk for putting that line in my signature, or am I justified? Also, is this something that I should push back against and ask about it being deemed unprofessional, or should I just let it die where it is? So in this one, I kind of feel that OP is being a little pretentious in some respects. Like, I understand where they're coming from here. But I think, like, if their writing style is unique, then it's going to be pretty obvious that they're not using AI. Like they said, all of these AI emails, they sound the same. So I think if somebody reads OP's email, then they're going to be pretty aware that OP wrote this. And that's the thing. It's like AI writing is pretty identifiable. Sometimes it can blend in with human writing, but a lot of times it's very clear that something is written by an AI. And I think also it does put pressure onto the other people, or makes it seem like other people maybe might make the whole thing seem weird or awkward or something like that. I don't have a good response for this one, but I do feel like OP should be kind of toning back this a bit. And I can understand where the boss is coming from here, because if only one person in the entire workforce is putting this on there, and like other people may be not using AI, but then if everyone does that, then it's going to be kind of like a bandwagon-y thing. So I don't know. It's a very odd situation. And Mary says, I'm going to say not the jerk because it made me laugh. And I mean, it is funny. It is funny. And June says, yes, I agree with you, Brian. I just don't know what words to use. And that's yeah. I mean, it's a hard one, right? I mean, there are it's a hard way to articulate this one. And KDSD628 says, you're the jerk. It comes across as passive aggressive. If I receive an email with that in the signature, my reaction would be, what a tool. Do they want around do they want around do they want a round of applause for writing that in an email? And Hera for Firataya says, it comes across as pretentious and snobby too. And maybe, right? All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for telling my picky brother-in-law that I won't change how I cook to accommodate him? 1 second, I'm just gonna get a little bit of water here. I have some water and some tea, so we'll have to get to that tea at tea time here soon. Oh no, I don't actually have Amber's joke book here. I'm gonna have to find a joke or make one up. The title is a little weird, so let me explain. I'm a 24-year-old female, and I live at home with my kids, my partner, my sister, her partner, and a couple of other family members. My family, partners, kids, my dad, and I are living there while renovations are being done on our home. My sister, a 26-year-old female, is living here with her partner, 24-year-old male, while they get back on their feet, as they were struggling monetarily when they moved back to our home state. It's a mess. I hope that explains it well enough. Well, I cook a lot. Just about every meal when I'm around is homemade, both because I love cooking and because going to a restaurant for the amount of people we have would cost way too much. Well, recently, almost anyone else has experienced, money has been tighter, like almost anyone else has experienced. Meat prices are getting pretty ridiculous. In general, the prices are getting ridiculous. Most of the people in my house believe that meat needs to be in every single meal. So I haven't cut it out of the meals that I've made entirely. But I have been trying to stretch the meat that we have, so we don't need a lot to feed everyone. How have I done that? Beans and lentils. 1 second. Unfortunately, my voice is kind of getting a little bit tired here. I've been adding beans into recipes, like making sesame chicken with ground chicken, and adding white kidney beans in to make it so that we can all get full without spending a fortune on meat. I'll make butter chicken, but add some beans, making curry and adding beans, stuff like that. It's a cheap way to make a meal more filling, and they're good for you. It's a win-win. The meals that I've been making taste good. Everyone in the house has liked them besides one person, my sister's partner. He hates beans. He has a lot of foods he will not eat. Chicken on the bone is a no. Mashed potatoes is a no. The list goes on and on. So when I make a meal with any of the things that he doesn't like, he doesn't eat it. Instead, they go and get fast food, or he eats something random in the house. Whatever, not everyone will like everything. I can't really avoid to stick to the foods that he loves and I can't really afford to stick to the foods that he loves and making main courses that are entirely meat. I feel bad if he doesn't like the stuff that I make, but I get it. The two of them, my sister and her partner, make a lot more money than my partner does. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so figured. If they don't like the food that I make, they can get their own, no hard feelings. All was good, I thought, but then I got told that I was being cruel for not accommodating them more. That me making foods that I know that he won't eat is kind of a bad move. And that I should really start making food that I know that he will eat too. I responded saying that they could either help with paying the extra for the extra meat, and we would need to accommodate his preferences, or they could make and buy their own food. If neither of those options sounded good, they could just deal with it. My partner and I can't really afford to add a bunch of extra meat and such to the meals that we make. And if this was the case of an allergy or something involved AFRID, I would feel worse about saying what we did. I have allergies and have been diagnosed with AFRID myself, so I am empathetic. But this isn't that. He says that he's just picky and doesn't like a lot of foods. I'm now being given the cold shoulder by them. My partner is fully on my side, and so are the other adults in the house. But I'm left questioning if I'm being a jerk here or unreasonable. Technically, I could make meals that he likes. The portions for everyone just wouldn't be as large as they are right now, and my partner and I would be struggling a little more. Am I the jerk? Am I being a jerk here? Oh my goodness. Folks, I feel like these people are just wildly entitled. The thing is, like OP has said, oh, can you please supply like extra ingredients or something like that? You can go and buy the meat, you can give us extra money, and I'll make the foods that you want. But they refuse. They just want OP to bankroll their diet. And I mean, I understand them, liking free food. Who doesn't like free food, right? But they need to contribute if they want their meals at this point in time. OP can't afford the food that he likes, and so OP is doing the best that they can under the circumstances. I'm sorry that they feel excluded, but OP isn't purposely excluding them. This is just budgetary type of things. So I'll read what Mary has to say. Wait, if OP and family are living in the house during renovations and sister-in-law and brother-in-law are getting on their feet, whose house is this? I assume that this is like OP's house. So I think that what they meant is that this is that the brother-in-law and sister are living at OP's house while their house, the brother-in-law and sister's house, are getting renovated. June says, not the jerk. If he has issues, then he can contribute to the food budget. I agree. I mean, I think that is probably like the best solution here. And Mary says, brother-in-law has no pressing bills, so he can afford to spend for his own food, right? He can go back to being picky at Subway. And Dronesser says, the brother-in-law can make his own food. It's not OP's responsibility. I agree. So I do apologize. I'm trying to pronounce your name, Droesner. So hopefully I got that right. Welcome, Dronesser. We are happy to have you with us. Speaking of renovations, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to pay extra to renovate my apartment when my fiance won't contribute? I'm a 29-year-old female, and I've been with my fiance, a 31-year-old male, for 4.5 years. We got engaged 3 weeks ago. For the past 4 years, we've been living in my sister's apartment while she's away. I own a 3-bedroom apartment that I've been renting out, and the plan was that once we got engaged and maybe pregnant, we would renovate and move back there before getting married. Well, the tenants recently moved out a week ago, and now we are starting renovations. Here's the issue. My fiance told me that he doesn't want to contribute financially to the renovations because his name isn't on the deed. I understand that and didn't push. Instead, my parents offered to help financially. They were always planning to gift us furniture and appliances, which is a tradition here. Well, we set the renovation budget at $15,000. To stay within the budget, I suggest that we keep the existing floor tiles. They're good quality, just a little outdated. No, my fiance is insisting that we replace the tiles anyways, which would increase the cost by 1/3, give or take. but he's not contributing to the renovation budget. We've been arguing because he says that I don't speak up enough in front of our contractors and my parents. I tend to take the time to think out and prefer to discuss things privately with him first, but he says that I leave him hanging and make him look bad. I feel like I'm already compromising by handling the renovations costs with my family, and now I'm being pushed to spend even more money for something unnecessary. He feels like I'm excluding him and not suggesting him in the decisions. Am I the jerk for refusing to go over the budget, for refusing to go over budget, and for not making decisions on the spot in front of others? Edit, he is doing a lot of personal work on the apartment and did say that he will cover the cost of furniture and appliances for the apartment. And we do split the cost of living 50-50. He doesn't want his name on the deed, and he did say that we could do no renovations and built something new together later on. But for now, this isn't an option for both of us. All right, folks, what do you think? So, my view on this is that I think that he isn't contributing, so I don't think that he is. I think he's kind of being a little bit of a choosy beggar. While I do think that he is contributing with some labor, since he isn't the one who's financing the parts, I don't think that he really needs to have a say in that, right? Mary says, partner makes a good point, though. OP needs to stand up more. They can start with standing up to the boyfriend. Haha. I was wondering where that was going, Mary, for a second. And I was like, oh, this is a really unusual response from Mary. I wouldn't have expected Mary to, say that OP was, that the boyfriend had a point there. But yeah, I think that OP does maybe need to stand up to him. He is being a little bit picky here. And I did read some of the comments, Mary. He doesn't actually want to be on the deed, so this has nothing to do with him wanting to be on the deed or wanting to change anything. It just sounds like he wants to have an input on how much money they spend without spending any money himself. So I don't know. I don't get it, right? And June says, not the jerk. He isn't helping with money. And Drozner says, since he's not paying for things, he doesn't get a say. I agree. Speaking of getting a say on things, it's tea time. All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber doesn't have a joke because Amber isn't around. I'm guessing the event went longer than she was expecting. Right now, let's end this poll and see what everyone has to say on this, right? So the last time it snowed for a lot of people was a month ago, 3 months ago. Today, 0% or never 0%. And the reason why I asked this one is usually Amber comes up with the questions, and basically I was like, what kind of question could I ask? And it was snowing today in Maine, so I was like, oh well, I guess we'll brag about the lovely snow weather that we get here in Maine in April, at the end of April. So it's not unheard of for it to snow in April or in May. It just is pretty uncommon for the most part. Mary, you have Diet Coke. You're guessing Mega Mint. Your guess is Licorice Spice, June. Licorice Spice from Drozner. And you're drinking water. And June's drinking water. Water's really good. I actually have water on the side here. I have 2 cups. But I have the special guest tea today, some matcha. Let me see if I can grab Amber's joke books. I don't know if oh no, I don't see any joke books at all. I see Amber's little journal here. Maybe I can read Amber's journal. You all want me to read Amber's journal? Maybe I can tell her that you all encouraged me to read it. I don't see a joke book here. So I guess I have to think of a joke, and I'm not prepared at all. I'm not prepared at all for a joke. So my joke is why Mary's like, no, 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 don't read Amber's journal. I'm assuming that's what you're saying. The no, no, no to Mary. Matcha is well, I'll be sure to let her know that you all have discouraged me from reading her journal here. Uh, I had the joke books. You know, the thing is, like, I always have like I should have a joke prepared for this, but I just didn't. Why did the chicken cross the road? Why did the frog cross the road? Because it was stapled to the chicken. That's the best I have for you. It's a terrible joke. It's the only one that's coming to mind at the moment here. There's also an old joke that I had. Knock, knock. And you would say, who's there? I'm assuming that you're saying, who's there? Dishes. And then you say, dishes who? And you say, dishes the Ghostbusters, come on out. And then and then that's the joke. It was from a commercial about the Ghostbusters. It was the Ghostbusters cartoon. So for whatever reason, that's like a core memory of mine. No, June, I would never read Amber's journal, not without her permission. I have no desire to read Amber's journal. I'm sure she says nothing but the most terrible things about me. So I'm satisfied with knowing that on a deep level that she would say terrible things about me. I don't need to read them. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure the dishes joke does go way, way back here. So we have one more story, and then we'll go from there. I thought this one was a nice story. I thought this was a nice story. So our next letter and final letter is titled, Am I a jerk for picking up my stepdaughter from school when she got her first period, even though her mom told me not to? I'm a 24-year-old female, and I'm currently 6 months pregnant with my first biological child. My husband, a 28-year-old male, has a 10-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. He had her when he was 18. I love my stepdaughter very much, and I truly see her as my own. But I try to be respectful of boundaries and not get too involved in discipline. We mostly just have a good, fun relationship. Recently, something happened that has me second-guessing myself. My stepdaughter was at school when she called my husband, saying that she had a really bad stomach pain. She went to the bathroom and noticed blood, and my husband immediately realized that she had started her period. He was stuck at work and couldn't leave, and her mom wasn't answering calls at first. I was home, and I'm also on the school's approved pickup list. I told my husband that I would be happy to go get her if he wanted, since she was clearly uncomfortable. Then her mom finally called back and things got tense. She said that this was a matter between her and her real mother, and that it was a special moment that she didn't want to miss. I explained that her daughter was in pain and that she would be bleeding all day, but she said, well, she'll have to tough it out and use toilet paper until I can get there. My stepdaughter was also saying that the pain was too bad to focus on class. Her mom kept insisting that she didn't want me involved and said something along the lines of, you'll understand when your baby arrives and you become a mom. Talk to me when your child has an important life event. That comment honestly stung. Then my stepdaughter called me crying, saying that she needs pain meds. The school had given her pads, but she just wanted to go home and rest. Hearing her like that really got to me. My husband told me to go ahead and pick her up. So I did. I signed her out and I took her to Walmart. I got her ibuprofen and ginger ale, and I brought her home. She took the meds and rested, and is doing much better. Well, about 5 hours later, her mom called me furious, said that the school could have handled it, that my stepdaughter missed her after-school program, and accused me of trying to be a better mom than her. She also said that we had an agreement about boundaries. I told her that I wasn't trying to replace her, but that her daughter was in pain for hours and is now feeling better, which should be the only thing that matters. She responded with, you parent your kid, I'll parent mine, and hung up. Now I'm stuck wondering if I overstepped. My husband says I did nothing wrong, and he's glad I helped, especially since I understand how painful periods can be. But her mom words are really getting to me. Am I the jerk? Well, I think that OP is not the jerk here. I think that the daughter was in pain. and she would have missed the after-school program anyways because she probably wouldn't have been feeling up to being in an after-school program. So I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing that should matter to the mom at this point in time is that the daughter isn't in pain anymore and is resting comfortably. As a parent, if I were a parent of a child like this, only thing that would matter to me is if the kid was safe, sound, and not in pain. Periods, especially first periods, can be a really scary thing, and she may not have even known what was going on at the moment. And I'm glad that the dad was able to offer her words of comfort. And I think that the mom is being really just like, I understand that this period might be a special moment for her, but it's an excruciatingly painful moment for the daughter. And the daughter needs to be able to be given a safe place to be at where she can lie down and be comfortable. And the school's nurse's office isn't going to be the best place for that. So I think that OP made the right call. And Mary says, not the jerk. It's not about anything beyond the poor girl's comfort. I agree. Wow, Mother of the Year right there. And Drosner says, why wouldn't the mom want the daughter just to feel better and not worry about being there for her first period? Daughter would probably not want to do an after-school programs anyways. And June says, not the jerk. Her dad gave her permission. The mom could have picked her daughter up from the dad's house. Look, it's an Amber.
Hello. Yes, it's an Amber.
I was like, is Amber actually going to arrive before the live stream ends? And apparently she did. Moments before the live stream ends.
Yes, just moments.
So welcome, Amber. Did you, I did tell a joke.
You told a joke, okay.
Yes, but they weren't very good jokes.
Well, I can't promise the books jokes would be even better.
So Amber will tell a joke now that she has reclaimed her throne of joking. And then it can give my voice a chance to rest here.
Let's see.
Everyone is waving at you, saying, hi, Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hi, everyone.
Mary says hi. Drosner says hi. June